A lot of the play has to do with the character's inner struggle with their Judaism. Why is that so important?
Well, that is really the central theme of the play. The Judaism exerts a claim on the soul of the Jew that is very tenacious. And I don't care whether you're observant or unobservant or back then or now, it's just a lifelong thing. It's a feeling you have about your history, about yourself, about the way you should behave, about the expectations of others and other Jews and others. It's hard to put your finger on, but it's definitely there. And in this play, that figures centrally because the issues that arose when the Jews came out of the ghetto and were told, you can learn the German language, you can go to school, you don't have to just be a banker or a doctor or a merchant, you can do whatever you want. That created freedom, but it also created dissension and pressures because people now had choices, and choices lead to conflicts. At the very beginning of the play, Abe Mendelssohn, a Jewish Berlin banker who turned out to be the father of Felix Mendelssohn, the composer, goes into the office of his brother, who is also his partner in the family bank, and announces to his brother Joe, I'm leaving the bank, I'm breaking up our partnership. The bank is too Jewish, I'm converting, I'm changing my name, we've already converted the kids, and to be Jewish is to be limited. Yes, we have more choices, but we've still got the king telling us what to do. And I'm not putting up with that anymore. My children, I cannot countenance the possibility that my children will not be citizens of Prussia. I want them to be full citizens, not some category of Jews that, the king has set forth. Well, that's an example. That's him making his choices. Joe Mendelssohn went another way. He remained Jewish. That was what his heart and the result of his inner struggle was. Felix and Ferdinand, one reason why I pair them is because not only did they work together on the violin concerto, but it gave me an opportunity to have them discuss their respective Jewish backgrounds. Ferdinand was Jewish longer than Felix was. So I have Felix asking Ferdinand at one point, what was it like to be Jewish? Do you remember? You were Jewish longer than I was. And so they talk about what it was, what it meant, what you give up if you leave, what you get if you leave. But it's an issue. The point is, it's an issue that they had to deal with that created differences of opinion, splits in the community, splits in business, splits in family, splits in congregations, because it was such a powerful thing to be Jewish, no matter what you did with it, no matter what direction you took it in. And that, I think, is still true today.
A good part of the play are the discussions between Ferdinand and Felix Mendelssohn and their discussions over the violin concerto. Could you talk about why you focused on the creation of that concerto?
Well, I've always loved the concerto. It is considered one of the 4 or 5 greatest violin concertos, classical violin concertos. It's still played. It's still part of the standard repertoire. You hear it a lot. A lot of great violinists have recorded it. A lot of great orchestras have recorded it. So it's clearly something that our audience would relate to. And by the way, we do use little snippets of it. This is not a concert, it's a play, but we use little snippets of it at the beginning, from the beginning of it and the end of it in the play, as well as some piano music that Felix Mendelssohn wrote just to like divide the acts and add some interest and color. But the violin concerto itself is interesting because although Felix Mendelssohn did not write what is thought of as Jewish music, at least not consciously, there have been efforts to find Jewish influence in numerous pieces that he wrote, and there has been some scholarly work indicating that violin concerto, especially the opening measures, which have a kind of Eastern feel to them, he might have gotten the idea from some kind of Jewish influence. Now, granted, I'm no expert on that, and it's not a widespread view, but it was enough of a view to make it legitimate to be expressed. And so that possibility led to discussions with Ferdinand David, the violinist, that turned into deeper discussions about their being Jewish. And I also, that discussion also allowed me to write about an episode that I found in one of the letters of Felix Mendelssohn where Felix Mendelssohn and his lawyer Schleinitz and his sister Fanny and Ferdinand David were at a concert together in Leipzig, and where a Polish Jew, a klezmer, was the star act, playing an instrument that he invented, and that Felix Mendelssohn was enthralled by this whole thing. He felt that this musician was a genius, and he also recounted a very funny incident in the letter in which some of his group, I think it was the sister and the lawyer, were trapped because there was a surge of Polish Jews who had come to hear this guy. This was in Germany. They come in and they surged in and they took up all the seats, and some of Felix, and the reason Felix Mendelssohn was there was because he was supposed to praise the player after the concert, which he did. But he laughed because of the whole scene where his own friends who he had brought to the concert were boxed out and couldn't get in. But I think that, Felix Mendelssohn, just to add this one point, you read these letters that he wrote, and they are unreservedly and unrelievedly upbeat, happy, positive affirmations of everything he's doing in life. And you read it, and everybody's got some concerns. So if somebody is presenting himself as being just happy all the time, you begin to wonder whether that did not conceal some kind of an inner conflict that he didn't really want to bring up. And I speculate, and that's all it is, that the inner conflict had to do with his Jewish background and his Jewish identity. How much of a role should it play in his life? And that going to hear this concert with this klezmer musician and loving it so much really made him question, hey, what if I started writing like that? What if I like it? I might be a completely different man. I might be a completely different kind of a musician. And I'm a conventional German, Prussian musician. I can't let that happen. So you can imagine the conflict that a man might feel. Now, that's me as the dramatist speculating, but I feel like it's something that should be brought up and for people to think through, because there is evidence for that type of a feeling. But those are the reasons why the violin concerto and the relationship with Ferdinand David is a critical piece of what was going on at the time in the Mendelssohn family and more widely in all the changes that were happening at that time.